Executive Director, Sandra Beswick, took the stand at the inquiry into the Public Investment Corporation today. She says it was highly irregular to have been asked to resign along with the rest of the board. Beswick has corroborated evidence given by board member Dudu Hlatshwayo on Tuesday. eNCA's Heidi Giokos is following that story and joins us now. So Heidi, I mean, the focus really is on the Deputy Minister of Finance, Mondli Gungubele, because his version of events has changed quite radically and quite significantly, because, you know, it's either they resigned voluntarily and decided to orchestrate it and resign en masse as a board, or they were instructed to resign. So where does he stand now?
So that's the big question. I mean, what we heard, if I can actually just take you back to the 1st of February when we received that letter that they are going to resign. It was 9 executives that signed the letter that said they're going to rather step back because of the allegations leveled against all those board members. And then on Monday, when we actually heard from the chairperson of the PIC board, as well as the Deputy Finance Minister, Mondli Gungubele, he said that it was a decision that was taken by the board and they decided that they'll rather just let the PIC do its work because of these allegations, and they're going to resign. Then we heard yesterday from Dudu Hlatshwayo, who is also a board member, saying that no, we weren't, it was not a decision that we all wanted to take. We were actually given an ultimatum. We were told that we have to resign or we're going to be fired 3 days later. That was completely different to what we heard from Gungubele. Then today we had evidence leaders standing up and saying that he in fact spoke to Gungubele and said, you know, we're hearing a different version from another board member, what actually happened. And he actually said, no, Finance Minister Tito Mboweni said it's best that we resign, and he actually gave us no other option. He said resign or be fired, and he agreed. He actually corroborated now when in the first place he contradicted what we heard from Dudu, and he corroborated with her and said actually that's what happened.
And the contradiction was under oath, right?
That is
during his testimony.
Under oath.
It's going to be very interesting, though, Heidi, to find out what exactly is the story, what was happening between, you know, the finance minister and his deputy leading up to this sequence of events. Sandra Beswick also testifying about the workings of the board, particularly how it related with Mondli Gungubele, including contradictions from time to time, for instance, on the issue of the UDM court challenge.
Yes, so I mean, her testimony specifically focused on, you know, how it was working with different finance ministers. But she basically said that the way in which Mondli Gungubele handled the UDM court case was not what the board had discussed on. So he decided that he is going to agree with the UDM court case when, in fact, the board decided that they rather oppose it. So it was quite shocking to hear that there were definitely divisions within the board. They would discuss one thing and then the chairperson of the board would go back and do something different, and they were not given a fair opportunity to voice their views and their opinions. This is, of course, what we heard from Beswick. And she was just saying how it was a very tense and aggressive environment, specifically when board meetings were held, and they were held very late at night, and very random board meetings were called when they were not even scheduled. So her testimony was very much the same as what we heard from Dudu Hlatshwayo.
We've also been hearing from the Public Enterprises Minister, Pravin Gordhan. What has he been saying? Yes,
so basically what happened there was he informed the PIC board members, specifically Beswick. She said that when Malusi Gigaba was finance minister and appointed as finance minister in 2017, obviously he has to oversee what happens at the PIC. And there was very big concern and fear about whether there would be any state capture involved at the PIC. And when all these finance ministers were constantly being changed because of the reshuffle, it just exacerbated fears within the PIC board members, and this is what she had to say.
The firing of Finance Minister Mr. Pravin Gordhan and Deputy Finance Minister Mr. Jonas at the end of March 2017 was a cause of great concern for me because the perceived risk of potential state capture of the PIC increased significantly. Because it was perceived that with the history of Mr. Buthelezi and Mr. Gigaba, that there was potential for the PIC, for state capture of the PIC. Also at the AGM, where Minister Gordhan was present as the shareholder representative, he warned us of state capture and asked us to be vigilant and diligent in our duties to protect the PIC.
So, Sandra Beswick, they're referencing the finance minister, the public enterprises minister, and what he had to say to them. Talk to me then about this issue of Dan Matjela, the CEO of the PIC at the time. What was the impact of that issue around the CEO on the workings of the board?
So what it seems from what we've heard from the Commissioner of Inquiry is that the divisions and if I can put it, the dislike towards Dan Matjela, who was the CEO of the PIC at the time, started when an email was sent by the alleged whistleblower, James Nogu, that Dan Matjela had given a loan to his alleged lover, and an investigation had happened, and Dan Matjela said, actually, I didn't do that. And there were certain board members that felt as though that wasn't sufficient, that a further investigation needed to happen to find out whether or not any loan or any sort of money was given to his alleged lover. And that seems to be one of the reasons why the board started dividing, because Gungubele felt as though it was not handled properly, where other PIC board members felt as though that was handled properly. And then the issue around his resignation. We heard very much from Beswick today. She spoke about how, Dan Matjela said he's thinking about resigning, but these are his terms and these are his conditions to resign. And then certain board members, a faction of the board members said, okay, well, we're taking this as your resignation, you can leave with immediate effect. Whereas other board members, in fact, said, but that's not what he said. He was merely expressing why he feels as though he should leave, and these are his terms and conditions if he does leave. So there was definitely a divide and a split, and we've heard that from a number of witnesses at this commission.
So friction, contradictions, and misunderstanding generally seems to have been the order of the day at the PIC. Heidi Giokos, thank you so much.